Tonight on Joy News Prime, Ghana records 5,408 COVID-19 cases after 281 more were added in the last hour. The good news, though, is 514 people have recovered. And the other bad news is that 2 more people have died. We'll give you the breakdown shortly. Also in the bulletin, Ghana Tourism Authority has given the green light to players in the hospitality industry to resume operations so long as they observe social distancing and hygiene protocols, despite the ban on all forms of public and social gatherings.
There will continue to be a ban on public gatherings such as drinking spots, beaches.
The chief executive of the Ghana Tourism Authority oversees things a little differently.
But you must ensure that the social distancing protocols are adhered.
Also in this bulletin, the Concerned Clergy Association is unhappy with the decision by the Ghana Tourism Authority. A 3-year-old boy hospitalized with severe wounds after his biological father allegedly whipped him with a belt and power cable for bedwetting. And in business,
coronavirus pushes April inflation rate to 10.6%, the highest in 8 months.
On a year-on-year basis, this translates into a 10.6 change in general price levels over the month of April 2019 and the month of April 2020.
So what does this mean for the economy? Stay tuned for an expert's perspective in business.
And also in this bulletin, we'll tell you why the Obuasi and Obuasi East Assemblies are recommending a lockdown of the 2 areas. My name is Aisha Ibrahim, coming to you live from the studios in Kokomlimi on digital address GA0992539, also on GoTV channel 144 and DSTV channel 421.
And I'm Israel Lai, and remember, Joy News Prime is live on digital terrestrial TV because we're free to air. The news begins presently. All right, so as you are aware, the country's COVID-19 case count now stands at 5,408, and we'll be giving you the details and the breakdown in a bit. But it keeps the figures keeps increasing. So let's look at what we have right now. 5,408. There's some good news, though, and the good news is that we've had an increase in the number of recoveries. The recoveries have gone up. But then we also have some bad news, which has to do with the deaths. So 5,408 confirmed cases, 514 recoveries, and then 24 deaths. And let's look at the regional breakdown. We have Greater Accra region having 4,147 cases. Ashanti region has 726 cases. Central region has 192 cases. Eastern region has 99 cases. The Eastern region has 99. Western region has 61. Western North region has 56. Volta region has 34. And then the Upper East has 26. We also have the OT region 24, Upper West region 21, Northern region 19, Northeast region 2, the Bruno region 1. Well, in all of this, the Ghana Tourism Authority says drinking bars, restaurants and hotels can now resume operations so long as they ensure full compliance with social distancing and hygiene protocols. This comes despite the presidential directive barring drinking bars, especially from operating as part of efforts to stop the spread of COVID-19. Indeed, President Akufo-Addo in his televised address on Sunday reiterated that drinking spots especially are to remain closed.
The ban on public gatherings, as set out in Executive Instrument number 64, has been extended also to the end of the month, i.e. 31st May. So during this period, There'll continue to be a ban on public gatherings, such as the holding of conferences, workshops, parties, nightclubs, drinking spots, beaches, festivals, political rallies, religious activities, and sporting events.
Well, the Ghana Tourism Authority, in a letter to operators in the hospitality industry, however, says they could go ahead and operate, but says they must comply with social distancing protocols. Let's take a look at what the statement says. It says directives for hospitality sector, May 11 to 31, 2020. Following the President's address to the nation on Sunday, May 10, 2020, the Ghana Tourism Authority, GTA, under the auspices of the Ministry of Tourism, Art and Culture, issues the following guidelines for the hospitality industry. All hotels can operate as normal and host their guests, subject to specified elevated hygiene protocols and social distancing. Food chains and restaurants can operate sit-down as well as pick-up and delivery services while observing appropriate social distancing and hygiene protocols. All nightclubs must remain closed. Drinking bars can operate while observing appropriate social distancing and hygiene protocols. And then 5, in all situations, hospitality facilities should observe the staff management and workplace protocols and precautionary measures on public gatherings with a view of achieving social distancing and hygiene protocols as spelled out in the imposition of restrictions, coronavirus disease COVID-19 pandemic instrument 2020 EI 64, and it's signed or it's issued by the Ghana Tourism Authority on May 11, 2020. Now, we subsequently spoke with the Chief Executive of the Ghana Tourism Authority, Kwesi Agyeman, who explained why he believes drinking sports are permitted under the current dispensation to operate.
It was during the lockdown period that we said you cannot entertain sitting guests. So you could only do takeaway and pickups. For EI64, you could go ahead. But what we've added on is that you have to keep the social distancing. So yes, you can admit guests to come in, but you must ensure that the social distancing protocols are adhered to. One, you must ensure that your staff are wearing the necessary PPEs to prevent the spread of the disease if any of them are infected. So those are the things that we sought to clarify. So currently EI 65 is fine. EI 64 is in place, and that really allows for them to operate. We are part of the National COVID Task Force that includes the Ghana Health Service, the military, the Ghana Police Service, NADMO, the ambulance, NCA and other agencies, FDA and the rest. And so these directives, as issued to the public and also to the operators, have also been sent to the operational team. And so the police are very clear in their minds what they would expect if they, for example, get to a drinking bar. We also have inspectors who do the inspections for licensing and regulating these enterprises are also down monitoring the situation. And we've also asked that the general public assist. So if you see any suspicious behavior and people are not adhering to these protocols, you can call into the national call center and then make some complaint, and then we'll follow up through that chain.
Right, so we just have some statement coming through in the last few minutes, and this is coming from the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, which appears will change this, all that we're talking about right now. It says Directive for Hospitality Sector, and this one is signed by the Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture, Honorable Barbara Oting Jesse, and it says, the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture has taken note of the circular issued by the Ghana Tourism Authority and captioned as above. The ministry wishes to clarify the directives as follows. 1. Food chains and restaurants, including hotel restaurants, can operate takeout and delivery services only. So this clarifies the position. So it goes contrary to what was earlier put out by the Tourism Authority. It says, drinking bars remain closed. So drinking bars, which the Ghana Tourism Authority says could operate, now the ministry, which is the supervising ministry, says drinking bars remain closed. Now, 3, all nightclubs remain closed, which is something the Ghana Tourism Authority also said. It says the public is to note that this circular supersedes the one issued by the regulator. In effect, the previous statement that was issued or put out by the Ghana Tourism Authority has now been superseded by this one issued by the Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture. So just to reiterate the point, the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture has now taken a decision that, contrary to what the Ghana Tourism Authority had said earlier, that drinking bars can operate. It says, the Tourism Authority says, food chains and restaurants, including hotel restaurants, can operate take-out and delivery services only. So you can't go into the hotel to go and sit and have a meal. And it says drinking bars remain closed, and then all nightclubs remain closed. And the public is to take note, this circular supersedes the one issued by the regulator. Back to you, Aisha, in the studio. Also in this bulletin, the Obuasi and Obuasi East assemblies are recommending restriction of movement of people following the upsurge in COVID-19 cases there. The assemblies, at a joint emergency municipal security council meeting, adopted a proposal from the assembly's Public Health Emergency Committee for either a partial lockdown or curfew to be imposed on Obuasi. Chief Executive for Obuasi Municipal, Elijah Adanseh-Bonah, tells my colleague Ohemen Teria of our health desk that the recommendations will be forwarded to the presidency through the Ashanti Regional Coordinating Council.
Obuasi and surrounding communities have in the last 2 months seen their COVID-19 cases jump from 3 to 456. This represents about 80% of the total number of cases recorded in the entire Ashanti region. Local and health authorities have introduced several measures, including setting up of 2 isolation centers. Public apathy and misconception of residents about prevalence of coronavirus in the area mean total disregard for social distancing protocols. Flouting of protocols by market women forced authorities to close down 2 facilities.
This is the Obuasi Central Market, one of the biggest trading facilities in Obuasi. It is also one of the most patronized markets. It is home to 1,500 traders here. But in recent times, the facility has become the epicenter of the coronavirus pandemic.
Authorities say the market will be opened to only 500 traders at a time, as a shift system is considered.
We are opening the market tomorrow on condition that the team will be able to meet the last group of market leaders. We've engaged all of them with the exception of 2 of them because it was difficult reaching them. But the committee agreed that tomorrow in the morning, the market women should start coming to the central business area to transact whatever business they were transacting before the closure. However, not everybody can come to the market. So now we are giving out not more than 500 cards to 500 shop owners so that we can reduce drastically the number of people who come to the central business area.
Almost every suburb has recorded a positive case. Mr. Adanseh-Bonah is worried over the development.
Per the graph plotted now, I can say that almost every suburb has 1 or 2 cases, because if you have about 456 of them and you even share among the suburbs, clearly you can say that almost every suburb. But I can say that there are some few towns, especially those far from the main, the urbanized area, where we've not recorded cases. But the main, the urban center, talking of Obuasi proper, almost every suburb has a case. Initially, when one suburb was mentioned to have recorded a case, everybody was moving from that area to the other centers. So let's stay, as we always say, if you move, the virus moves. If you stay, it stays. That will help containing the virus.
The surge in COVID-19 cases is not only a concern to residents, but the 2 local assemblies in Obuasi. The assemblies are proposing to the presidency to introduce restrictions on movements of people.
When we met yesterday, the clinicians also said something, that any form of restriction that can also enhance contact tracing would be appreciated. They have advised we would also escalate the advice to our bosses. So whatever decision that will be taken from the center, we have to respect that. But if you ask me, yes, either partial lockdown or curfew, but that can be announced by the president.
From Obuasi, for Joy News, Ohime Interior reporting.
I'm back here in the studio in Accra. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. The Ashanti Regional Health Directorate, however, says it is sending more surveillance personnel to Obuasi to augment local efforts to contain the spread of COVID-19 in that town. It comes as Ghana's case count hit 5,408, with the mining town as the main hotspot in the region, accounting for more than half of the 662 cases recorded there. Regional Health Director Dr. Emmanuel Tinkran says the team from Kumasi will strengthen contact tracing, isolation and treatment. Prince Apia has more in the following report.
The Ashanti region case counts currently stands at 662. Out of which Obuasi, the new hotspot, accounts for 80% of this number. Regional Health Director Dr. Emmanuel Tinkran says the team from Kumasi will augment local efforts to contain the spread of the COVID-19.
For us, Kumasi has done so well to contain the infection. We are having rather the reverse in Obuasi. Their situation is not good enough. But one thing is that we are looking at the progress and then putting in the necessary intervention so as to reduce the spread in Obuasi. We've strengthened the medical team there and we've redesigned another strategy. So now we are sending a reinforcement to Obuasi. And we believe that with this reinforcement and with other measures that has been taken by the municipal, Obuasi municipal itself and the Obuasi East, we can contain the infection at Obuasi so as to cut the transmission and then save the people of Obuasi. The reinforcement is that the medical team will have to be strengthened. The contact tracing will have to be strengthened. The principle of tracing, testing, isolation and treatment will have to be strengthened. So it means that we have to send more teams. And this is exactly what we are doing. We have to send more teams and make sure that we identify, isolate, and then those that will need treatment, we treat. So formerly it was only the medical team at Obuasi that was working, but this time the region has come in and has given the reinforcement that we all need.
Meanwhile, there have been calls to lock down the city in the face of the current development. Dr. Tinkran says it is necessary to assess the situation and weigh the pros and cons before a decision is taken.
We will need to assess this carefully because, as you all realize, the lockdown has its own implications and the challenges that's associated with it. So whatever decision or measures that we want to take in place should be measured. We should do a lot of weighing, yes, balancing act, so as to take the right decision. So though people are proposing lockdown and other things, but every decision will have to come from our president, and based on the advice that he has a technical team that will be given to him. So as I said, we will have to assess the situation and then weigh the merits of lockdown or not before any decision is taken. But
he spoke to Love News when Sandvik Mining and Construction Ghana donated anti-COVID-19 items worth 150,000 Ghana cedis to the Directorate. Samuel Brewu is the Human Resource Manager.
We are grateful that we are of use in such a situation like this. Sandvik has a history of interventions in the areas that we operate in, and we've assisted in other health facilities, educational facilities, and other social responsibilities.
Meanwhile, the Directorate wants more benevolent individuals and institutions to continue supporting with PPEs. Prince Apia reporting.
Right now, joining us via Zoom is a virologist at KCCR. That's one of the main or key testing centers for COVID-19 that we have in the country. She's Dr. Augustina Silverking. Thank you very much, Dr. Silverking, for making time to speak with us. So, before we had actually called you to speak with you regarding the decision by the Ghana Tourism Authority to say that drinking sports could actually resume operations. But I want to pick your thoughts on what is happening in Obuasi right now. To the extent that we're having the assemblies say that they're contemplating a lockdown of a sort in the two municipalities. What do you say about that?
Yes, good evening, Israel, and warm evening to your cherished listeners and viewers. Indeed, I mean, I have heard people in Obuasi and its environs calling for a lockdown. It's a welcoming news, but my point is that even if people are calling for a lockdown, I think we should also look at ourselves as individuals. Those living in Obuasi, how are they contributing to the spread of this particular virus? Because, look, we can declare a total lockdown or a partial lockdown. That's excellent. But at the end of the day, how are they also contributing to the spread? Because of course, when you are looking at whether to lock down or not to lock down, or to even ease restrictions and so on and so forth, you are interested in the number of cases you are reporting. So we see that now in Ashanti region, Obuasi seem to be trending in terms of the number of cases. Severity of cases, I'm not very sure. And then importantly, the R0. But in the absence of the R0, we may want to look at the number of cases. Indeed, the cases are soaring. And we know that already they've closed down 2 markets in that particular municipality. But beyond closure of the markets, beyond them asking for a lockdown, how are individuals in the municipality also behaving? Are they wearing their nose mask? Are they adhering to all the laid down regulations and recommendations that we've been preaching about? I mean, we should already people in that community should be ensuring that they are adhering to physical distancing. So I would again want to see some level of de-densification in some of the institutions in Obuasi. We know that Obuasi is a mining area, and for those within the mining areas, I don't know how easy it is for them, or it will be for them, to adhere to physical distancing. But then we don't even know whether they are adhering to infection prevention and control measures, i.e. washing of hands and so on and so forth. So even though they themselves are calling for a lockdown, I think that beyond the lockdown, because if you lock down you decide not to lock down, it behoves on the individuals to also contribute. So I think that they should also be asking themselves how they are contributing to the spread of the virus. Now, if they know how they are contributing to the spread of the virus, I guess they will also be able to put in those mitigation measures. So if we know, or they know, that it is because they are not wearing masks, then the other measure would be for everybody to wear masks. If they are not adhering to the physical distancing in their market, because I think I read from one of the websites that 2 traders, a couple actually, they tested positive. They were sitting in the market and they were selling. We don't know whether they were in nose masks. We don't need to know really, because now we know that they tested positive, and so chances are that they may have spread this particular virus. So I think beyond locking down and not locking down, we should gradually be looking at our contribution, individual contributions to the spread of the virus, as well as to limiting the spread of this particular virus.
All right. Right, Dr. Silverking, I know this may be a bit difficult question that I have to put to you, but I'm trying to figure out what is it about Obuasi, for which reason they are accounting for more than half of the cases recorded in the Ashanti region. So the Ashanti region has what? Upwards of nearly 700 cases, and Obuasi has more than half of that. When Kumasi, it's essentially they have more cases than Kumasi. What is so special about Obuasi, or what is it that Kumasi is doing right?
So I'm just thinking that Obuasi obviously recorded the first case. But even if we decide to move away from that particular first case, how are people behaving in Obuasi? We know that they move to and fro. They don't just move to Kumasi, but I'm sure if people are trading, then they may move even across. So a lot of inter-district, inter-regional movements, travels. Chances are that a number of them may have even picked the virus from the Greater Accra region. We don't know. So if we have a catalog of all the cases, then chances are that we may be able to identify how come Obuasi seem to be the so-called hotspots. And of course, we also know that it is a mining area, and if you want to mine, you need to be in groups or gatherings. And we know that similarly, like you having a child attending a crèche or a kindergarten, where as soon as you realize that son or daughter of yours comes home with a runny nose, you decide to visit the class of your child, you realize that quite a number of children may also be down with a runny nose. So it's the same scenario. If people are moving together or meeting together in that particular region, then of course the virus only needs people to move the virus. So I guess we may want to delve deeper into why Obuasi seemed to be the lead in terms of the number of confirmed cases within in the Ashanti region. But of course, I honestly need to comment. Again, chances are that maybe in Obuasi, they are also doing aggressive testing and aggressive contact tracing, because Israel, once you test, contact tracing, so once you test, you would find. So if you are doing testing aggressively and doing contact tracing aggressively, then chances are that your numbers may also go up. So a lot of dynamics pertaining to why Obuasi may be the so-called epicenter within the Ashanti region of Ghana.
All right, now, Dr. Silva King, finally, I know that the Ghana Tourism Authority initially put out this directive and said that drinking bars could resume operations. Now, the ministry, which is the supervising ministry, has come back to say that no, that can't happen. That clearly should make you happy. Excited, I am so. In fact, when I saw the circle, I was like, what is going on here? But then when I saw the second notice, I was like, oh, okay, so they've seen it, they've realized that this is a no-go area. And so I guess all of us are excited that at least every single measure the president decided to put out, we are all going to abide and adhere by those measures. All right. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Augustina Silva King. Dr. Augustina Silva King is a virologist at KCCR. Thank you for joining us to share your thoughts with us. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break to bring you business news. Do stay tuned. We'll be back in a bit. Time now for business. Sandra Apenu is here with the latest. Sandra, hi. We're hearing of inflation.
The highest actually in 8 months.
This is not good.
And you know why? COVID-19.
COVID-19. Yeah. Take it away, Sandra.
Anyway, celebrating 25 years of joy. My name is Sandra Esinam Apenu. Let's do business. The inflation rate for the month of April has jumped to 10.6% from 7.8% in March. This is due to recent astronomical hikes in price of food items amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, coupled with the 3-week partial lockdown. More details in the following report.
And we share CPI end rate of inflation for the month of April 2020. CPI for April 2020 was 116.6 relative to 113.0 in the month of March 2020. This culminates in 3.2 month-on-month inflation, that is between March 2020 and April 2020. On a year-on-year basis, this translates into a 10.6 change in general price levels over the month of April 2019 and the month of April 2020.
Even before the latest inflation rate of 10.6%, a great communication firm, Isoko Ghana, had predicted a hike in food prices for the month of April and May. Despite this warning, the Agric Ministry, in a press conference last month, maintained there was enough food at a cheaper rate.
Only 4 years ago, a bunch of plantain in Accra, you have to spend 40 Ghana cedis. Now 4 cities, and I repeat, 3, 4, 5 cities you can get a bunch of plantain.
With the current data from the Ghana Statistical Service, it is clear the 3-week partial lockdown and closure of the country's borders had contributed significantly to the surge in inflation rate for April. What this means is that a tuber of yam previously sold for 5 cedis in the month of March shot up to 8 cedis in April. This, the government statistician, Professor Samuel Kobnainim, has been explaining.
This means that in the month of April 2020, the general price level was 10.6% higher than April 2019. We do the disaggregation based on source by sharing with you the food inflation and the non-food inflation. And food inflation for the month of April 2020 was 14.4 relative to 7.7 for non-food inflation.
Professor Inim also has this advice for the Ministry of Agric.
One of the things that the Ministry of Food and Agriculture can focus on is how to ensure that the supply for commodities such as cassava, okra, plantain, tomatoes are available at markets that we saw very high prices.
Fred Duho's report for Joy Business.
Professor Godfred Bopin is on Zoom to help us understand the direct impact of these new figures on the ordinary Ghanaian. Thanks so much, Prof, for your time this evening. And same money in your pocket, but you actually have to pay more for goods. This is going to further bruise the wounds of Ghanaians who are already suffering from COVID-19. What should we do at this point?
Thank you very much, and good evening to our cherished viewers. It's as simple as that. You've captured it very well. COVID-19 has exposed the vulnerabilities in our economy beyond what perhaps the ordinary Ghanaian can bear. It's as simple as that. I think we know people have lost their jobs. We know that salaries have not been adjusted necessarily. Of course, we have seen some cushion. Maybe government was being proactive. Cushion from electricity, cushion from water, and all of that. These are these interventions are very, very necessary. But as you have said, with the same amount of money, we could have gotten more a year ago, but you end up getting less now. And it's simply because of COVID-19, panic buying and all of that, and also other kind of behaviors in the market contributed to the rise in price. So essentially, it dwarfs your pocket. It dwarfs my pocket. Essentially, what it means is that in terms of our purchasing power, that has gone down significantly. Perhaps, I'm not too sure government has further fiscal space to be able to cushion Ghanaians. Maybe we just have to absorb it and then plan. And I think that I agree with the government statistician that it is possible we have food items in the rural areas, but then we have to make sure that we get them to where our mouths are. So the distance between where the farmland is and where our mouth is in Accra or in the urban and peri-urban areas needed to be resolved so that we are able to improve on the local supply chain. So if you look at the data, you realize that the local inflation is very high, and then imported inflation is very low. It's also a reflection of the disruptions in the global supply chain.
Right.
So
Bob, let me quickly interrupt you there. Yes, it's good you mentioned that, the government statistician asking for food items to be brought from the regions into the Greater Accra region, for instance, where there's more demand. But we heard from the buffer stock a month ago or so when they said we have enough food in stock to last us for about 6 months. Why are we here?
Well, the evidence is telling us why we are here. So if we had enough food in the buffer, we need to put that side by side the evidence that the Ghana Statistical Service is providing. And more importantly, we need to be able to relate whatever we say at the macro level to the ordinary Ghanaian at their pocket level and all of that, so that we're able to connect with the ordinary Ghanaian. Because the reality on the ground is that, you don't need a prophet to tell you that prices have gone up. We feel it. We go to the market, we see what is happening. Right. So I think what we need to do right now is to scale up the local supply chain and link the urban and peri-urban areas to where the farmlands are and make sure that we are able to move, because in this country we have seen post-harvest losses at a level unimaginable and all of that. So not that our farmers are lazy, our farmers are not. All right, Prof, quickly before we go, the issue of the economy,
what would this impact be on the economy and investment in general? Quickly before we go, 30 seconds.
Yeah, so I think it just summarizes the challenges that we are going through and what COVID-19 has brought on us. And it also tells you that when you see price jump like this, it tells you that it's going to take a little bit while and a lot of work, and it will take a little longer for things to normalize. So let's just tighten up. And what it also means for individuals is that we have to be prudent with our spending. Other than that, you soon join the vulnerable group.
All right, Professor Godfred Bopin, thank you so much. He's an economist, and I'll be back after 8 p.m. with more business news updates. My name is Sandra Esinamapeno. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for staying with us on Joy News Prime. I'm Gary Al Smith, and this is The Sport. CK Akono, when he came into the job, came to meet a Black Stars that was used to naming foreign-based players for squads for international friendlies and also for international tournaments. However, he surprised all of us by naming 4 locally based players in his first attempt at a call-up. Yaya Mohammed there, and these other 3, Richard Atta, Amoakon, and this other one player. Now, let's go and hear what CK Akono now has to say about why he did this and how it will form a template for building the confidence of locally based players.
When I spoke about the locals being serious, consistent, this is what I mean, because I want to try as much as I can to give them a fair chance. You know, they deserve that. You know, they deserve it. Because listen, let me go back. When I was playing, I think I saw more locals than the pros. You know, when I got into the national team, I was a local player. I played regularly with the national team before I even went to Europe. So the likes of Pele, Anthony Yeboah,
then Ali Ibrahim,
Bafo, and maybe Kwame Ayew. It's over.
The rest were
home-based players. What happened? The trend has changed, you know, and I wanted to, or I want to. I want to try as much as I can to not necessarily
bridge the gap,
but narrowly, you know, like to at least if we could even have start with 2-3 players who are starting in the first 11, it will be something. Those players we invite, most of the time they come, they don't even sit on the bench, you know, and I want to encourage them so they can, you know, so that these things they can only change it. They themselves can change it, you know. Of course, with my help as well. They also need to be encouraged, you know, in that sense. And I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to close that gap, narrow that gap, so that we'll have home-based players in the team. And when they are coming, it shouldn't be an idea of coming and just to go back. They're coming to play. That will automatically show in their training. And then you know, I really looking forward to that day.
Unfortunately for those 4 we showed you, because of COVID-19, they could not play for the Black Stars. Moving on, and with a population of just 50,000 people, the small nation of Faroe Islands has become the first in Europe to start playing football again following suspension due to the coronavirus. The last case was recorded in that country on the 22nd of April, leading the country's authorities to declare them COVID-19 free. Earlier, I spoke to a journalist from the country to get some perspective on what went on in making that decision.
The main reason that Faroese football is able to restart its football league is the fact that we don't have the coronavirus in the Faroe Islands at the moment. We've done extensive testing, been able to isolate every case of COVID-19 around here. We're 18 isolated islands in the North Atlantic, so we're also able to control our borders. But having said that, it's not really been done by law. It's been more done by plea. People here around here have been very quick to adapt to the new world, if you can call it that. And people quarantine once they get to this country, so you're able to trace everyone who has been sick and the people they have been around. And by that, we've been able to isolate the virus. So at the moment, there are no new cases of COVID-19 for almost a month. And we've had 3 cases, and they're all 3 people coming into the country, and then they have been to quarantine. So the virus has been isolated, and it's not here anymore.
Amazing, isn't it? They don't have any coronavirus. Anyway, of utmost importance in such a situation are safety protocols. I also asked Trondro what the football authorities put in place to ensure that the virus doesn't spread.
Well, there are a number of safety protocols, the main one being the fact that there are no fans allowed in the ground. We don't have stadiums that you would recognize maybe from the Premier League and the other big countries, but we rather have grounds in the middle of villages, many entry points, and if you are out for a walk, and you are able to see the ground. But I think the locals of all the teams have been very accepting of the fact that you should stay away during the game to make sure that there is no unnecessary spreading of the virus if it was to be there. Players are, of course, told to be careful, no handshakes before games and things like that, and only people important to the team are in and around the team. Then you have a layer of maybe security guards around the pitches, the media as well. You try to keep social distancing as well in and around, and those are the safety protocols. But the main one is the fact that there are no fans allowed into the stadiums yet. If
Ghana ever wants to start football again, those protocols may be good to emulate. I'm Gary Al Smith. That's the sport for now for those on Joy Prime. If you're on Joy News, I'm back again with more in the next part of the hour.
You are so welcome to Showbiz here on Joy News Prime. Today, well, I'm waiting for Aisha, but first of all, let's talk about Mary Ganza. Mary Ganza has been advising, you know, celebrities, musicians out there to not concentrate on controversies. Basically, don't concentrate on controversies to sell your songs, but do the needful.
This is not gospel. This is not gospel. Why wouldn't you pick your sister's phone? Why wouldn't you pick your brother's phone? And sometimes too, when they release an album, they want to criticize the gospel industry for the albums to thrive. This is not gospel. There are lots of space out there. Your gospel or your music can still thrive without you accusing somebody, using the person as a ladder, so that FM stations will be calling you, and because you get a token by they playing your music. This is also not right. Sometimes you see a baby gospel musician, criticize them, making all sorts of comments, and I say, oh God, who did they even consult? Have they done their research? You cannot do that. You cannot do that. So we must be very, very careful and get together.
Yeah.
There are a lot of groups in the gospel music that we all, our association that we all belong, including Musica. Just do your bit. You cannot do all, but do your bit.
That was gospel musician Mary Ganza there speaking on Daybreak.
I want Mary Ganza not to be
Aisha, where were you?
I'm sure there's something that got her.
Aisha, where were you? You think you can just come in here and not tell me? You just making me so
I'm sorry.
right now.
Sorry, Becky, but this is a nice dress you're wearing.
Thank you.
But
oh, that's easy right there.
You know,
I am so emotional.
Aisha,
why don't you answer the question? Aisha left me.
Okay. You don't want to know where I was.
Just tell everybody and say sorry.
I was having a break-up fast.
Oh, okay. Allahu Akbar. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I forgive you. Okay. But let's talk about Ajay Anand. I love this connection. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ajay Anand is hopeful that the movie industry will get back on its feet after COVID-19.
It's very important.
Yes, he spoke to us exclusively.
I believe strongly that the industry will bounce back. You know, I think that
we'll bring that particular story back, you know, later on. But we're still talking about Lyrical Beef, Eno, and Frida.
I think you should adopt that name. It's actually nicer than the Baroni.
Okay. So what Bulldog is saying? Bulldog was on Joy Prime earlier this morning, and he said that Eno, she does like timeless music, but the rest of them really.
Go back and listen to Eno's lyrics. These are people I can easily compare to the likes of Tupac, Bob Marley. These are people, yes, coherently.
Isn't that too much pressure you're putting on Eno?
No, listen. I don't think she's conscious. I'll listen to her. She's conscious when she's putting stuff on there. And that's what every musician should do. You shouldn't put out a record today and 20 years from now it will not make sense.
Blue, are you trying to say that every musician should have a timeless song? There are musicians who don't do timeless songs. They just do songs at the spur of the moment. Are you...
That was Bulldog right there. Aisha, so I don't know what you think. A lot of people are, you know, rallying behind Eno, saying that Eno is the best. And
I really don't want to choose who I mean, who has the best insult or who has the best lyrics or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think this whole beef about insults should cease.
It will
Immediately, because
I am hoping so.
Yeah, and I think their followers must also come in to warn them. If you don't stop, we will stop listening to you. Period. Thank you so much for bringing us Showbiz, Becky.
Anytime.
Beautiful, Becky, and that'll be it for Showbiz.
Welcome back to Joy News Prime. Now, a 3-year-old boy has been hospitalized with severe wounds after his biological father allegedly whipped him with a belt and power cable for bedwetting. The child, identified only as Junior, is on admission at the Menchia Government Hospital in Kumasi, while the 30-year-old culprit, Ebenezer Osei-Bonsu, is in police custody. Widespread public outcry has greeted disturbing pictures of the boy's ordeal, which have since gone viral on social media. Love Films Erastus Asare Donkor visited the boy and his mother and spoke with the police on the matter.
Junior's body depicts a prisoner of war tortured in a concentration camp. Deep cuts and marks of assault spread over his back, hands and thigh, with 2 huge bumps on the forehead. As little as he is, Junior is able to narrate what happened to him. Barb is Junior's 26-year-old mother who dated the child's father, a national service person, for about 7 years. The relationship collapsed because of what she alleges was physical abuse by the man.
Bibia ni bufu a wachio hini fo beka eno na nam so a meni ni jaye mesema nhwe ya mehwe menkwa.
Ebenezer reportedly took the child on a weekly visitation and started abusing him. She says it took the intervention of police at Bokrum to rescue the child, despite attempts by the father to conceal the act.
Anytime when I called him, he refused to pick my calls. And I decided to go there and check on the child. But he said no. So I reported him to the police. So I came with the police and they took my son to the police station. Then that I know my son is several injuries on his body.
What did the child say happened?
Well, Erastus Asare Donkor, who put together that story, has joined me via Zoom. And Erastus, that's a pretty harrowing story. And what's the very latest on it?
Well, The latest is that today the police tried to arraign the suspect, Ebenezer Osebunsu, before court, but unfortunately the court did not sit, and so he has been scheduled to be arraigned before court early tomorrow morning. Now, what we are also learning today is that the Social Welfare Department also paid the victim a visit at the Menchia Government Hospital, and they've been outlining a number of support measures for him. They've asked the doctors to observe him for another week and give him all the necessary medical assistance that he will need. They are also promising to take care of the medical bills, and they are following up with him to ensure that he gets full recovery.
Erastus, what has the father had to say about all of this?
In fact, the Social Welfare Department have also been speaking with Albert Godfred Abogo, who is the development social worker with the Kumasi Social Welfare. And he says the suspect has been telling them that he's been having some mental episodes. And so that is why he sought permission from his work in Accra to come to Kumasi. And he decided to spend some time with the boy. He doesn't know what came over him. As he puts it, he went overboard. Something came upon him, and he snapped. That's the word he used. He snapped. And so he doesn't really know what came over him to be able to do that to his own son. So he's begging for leniency at this particular moment. That's what he's been telling social workers today. But the Social Welfare Department is asking the police to do proper investigations, arraign him before court, and let the court decide on his sanity or otherwise. Let the law deal with him whichever way it is.
Has he confirmed, or what has he had to say about the claims or the allegations by the wife, who said, or the boy's mother, who said that he used to assault her as well?
Yes, he has not denied any of them. All he keeps saying is that he himself admits that there's something wrong with him, and so he has been seeking.
All right, it turns out that we have lost Erastus there, but it's a pretty harrowing story, and we're hoping that we can get to the bottom of it. But moving on, Council of State Chairman Dasibre Uto Srebo II is imploring chiefs in his traditional area and other parts of the country to find local methods of improving adherence to COVID-19 protocols. The call comes in the wake of the country's increasing case count, which now stands at more than 5,400. Nana Uto Srebo, who is also head of the Dwabin Traditional Council, warns of potential danger if community infections worsen. Nana Ajima has more in the following report.
In spite of spike in numbers of persons testing positive to the virus, many people are still apathetic to preventive protocols. There are those who even think COVID-19 is either non-existent or is nothing to worry about.
Yeah, was the funny work man. You do teach me. Yeah, ni say Alena ewo. Obi hasn't find a new way. Yate. That's why I need to say I was social distance. And I'm a boy. So I will give you and can you social distance. No, can't you see I mama can for follow.
With fragile nature of health systems, especially in rural areas, Nana Otio believes intensified efforts is needed to curb the spread. Registrar for the Dwabin Traditional Council, Kweku Ankoma Asare, speaks for him.
Nana Otio Srebo, in one of his statements, said that the disease that is affecting us now, it doesn't have legs to travel anywhere. It's really the citizens or the people who will carry them to wherever that we have to carry them. So our humble appeal to the general public, especially Dwabin and its citizens, is that they should stay put and stay home. If you don't have anything very important to do, it's advisable that we stay put
The Traditional Authority has donated personal protective equipment and other supplies to Dwaben Government Hospital. They included 4,000 pairs of hand gloves, 500 surgical face masks, and 120 boxes of hand sanitizer, among others. Medical Superintendent of Dwaben Hospital, Dr. Kofi Boa Bosk Hamilton, received the items.
Coronavirus has come at a time which got everybody unprepared. We did not budget for this. And these things are used all the time and they need replacement. So today we are very happy and glad that our own traditional council and Nana Utro Sribo have found it necessary to come and help support us.
Nanaya Ojima reporting.
And from the Ashanti region, concerns have emerged that the Supreme Court's decision allowing Martin Amidu to continue to hold office despite exceeding retirement age could spell doom for young people seeking employment into the public service. Former Deputy AG Dr. Dominic Ayini dragged the AG to court, dragged the special prosecutor to court, arguing Mr. Amidu cannot hold office as special prosecutor because he is more than 65 years of age. The court, in a majority 5-2 decision, disagreed, dismissing the case. Court correspondent Joseph Akablay spoke to Dr. Ayini shortly after proceedings.
Dr. Ayini had argued that at the time President Akufo-Addo appointed Martin Amidu as special prosecutor, he was more than 60 years of age, which he makes the point that that is the retirement age of public officers, and so he's not eligible to hold office. One of the reliefs he had asked the court was to rule that he's not eligible to hold office, and therefore that appointment should be terminated with him removed from office. But the 7-member panel, by a 5-2 majority decision, did indicate that Mr. Amidu is eligible to hold office. Chief Justice Kwesi Enin-Yeboah, who read the decision, indicated that the full judgment will be available subsequently for collection at the court's registry. Dr. Ayini makes the point that it's difficult to understand the decision currently.
My point was that the office of the special prosecutor falls squarely within the public services of Ghana. And at the age of 66, he was above the mandatory age of retirement of 60, and then also the voluntary age of appointment on contract of 65. And so I'm at a loss as to why the court today said that, my writ has been dismissed. But the court didn't give any reasons, and said that we could apply for the reasons, given by the judges in the majority and the minority from the register of the court. So until then, I'm unable to say why, and we'll get back to you when the reasons are available.
But knowing that the decision is 5-2, are you considering the possibility of, studying it and maybe a review on the books for you? Well,
I don't think the review window is very narrow, unless you can show that the court erred, grievously, and that the fact that the court erred, resulted in a miscarriage of justice. It should not be possible for the court to take a second look at its ruling. I don't want us to come back re-arguing our case. Unfortunately, the precedent that is going to be set will allow for appointments of persons who are over the age of 65 years. Persons who are 70 years of age can be appointed into the public service after they've retired at the age of 60, and not giving our young people the opportunity to serve the Republic in the public services of Ghana. And I think that that is a foreseeable consequence of the decision of today. But
with this out of the way, it means that Mr. Amidu, the special prosecutor, can continue with his work, and nothing bars him from carrying out the prosecutorial duties that he was already executing, some of which are stored as a result of this particular action. Reporting for Joy News from the Apex Court, my name is Joseph Akablay.
Joseph Akablay with that report. Government of Ghana is urging the ECOWAS to fast-track the process of establishing an early warning center in Ghana to guarantee the security of citizens of member states. The current global health crisis of COVID-19, according to the Vice President, has underscored the urgent need for a center in Ghana as established in some member states. Addressing members of the National Early Warning task force at the Jubilee House Wednesday morning. Dr. Bawumia said a successful implementation of the center in Ghana will also ensure effective coordination among member states in times of violent conflict, in times of violence.
Addressing members here at the Jubilee House, Vice President Mahamudu Bawumia said the government of Ghana is keen on ensuring the institutionalization of the early warning center here in Ghana to prevent destructive crises in the ECOWAS region.
For some time now, ECOWAS member states and the ECOWAS Commission have been considering effective early warning and response mechanisms in ECOWAS countries to avert destructive crises in our region. The crises that we tend to see have broad effects across all countries, whether it was Ebola that we all had to think about, whether it was SARS, whether it is CSM, we have to, and today we are thinking also of COVID-19. All of these have impacts just beyond one country. The ECOWAS early warning system aims primarily at guaranteeing human security. The system envisages the establishment of a fully integrated and functional early warning system within member states of the ECOWAS. The system is intended to provide timely reports and analysis for effective responses that will prevent and mitigate violent conflicts, amongst others, in the sub-region. With the establishment of national centers, ECOWAS member states will be able to share information, implement conflict prevention, and manage crises while protecting human security at national and regional levels. The center's role is to warn government of threats to human security, propose appropriate action, coordinate, and ensure monitoring of the implementation of response to the warning. In view of the time constraint, I suggest a doubling of efforts and maximum cooperation to get Ghana ready for the assessment and the launch. On its part, the ECOWAS Commission will provide support and logistics to fully equip the center once established. I call on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration for its maximum support for the work of the task force.
National staff at the Energy Ministry have been asked to work remotely as a precautionary measure to prevent the spread of coronavirus among staff. The ministry has also split its team and is running a shift system to comply with social distancing protocols. Deputy Energy Minister William Oreku Edu said this when he took delivery of a PPE donation from China Water, an NGO operating in Ghana.
My pleasure and my honor to donate all the equipment, medical equipment, to Ministry Energy. Actually, it's really our appreciation for supporting from the government Ghana and also from Ministry Energy to help us to do project in Ghana.
In this difficult time that we're going through, of course, social distancing and washing of hands and sanitizing of hands is being promoted as key protocol that needs to be observed. And these items are going to help the ministry to stick to the protocols that are enumerated. Currently, we are running some sort of a shift system to try and encourage this social distancing. So non-essential staff are rotating on a weekly basis. So these items are going to help us. It's not going to help only the ministry. Some of our agencies who we believe have the need for some of these items will benefit from this. So once again, we are very much grateful to China Water for this gesture.
The Ghana Maritime Authority, regulators of the maritime industry, say they are taking immediate steps to acquire the necessary legal authority that will allow them to seize and destroy wooden boats used for illegal fuel business in the coast along the Takoradi Enclave. The Director General of the authority, Mr. Thomas Kofi Alonso, said this when he met with security chiefs at the Western Naval Base. Correspondent Natalia Kwanzaa has more.
The growing activities of these illegal boats locally called Dendes, is becoming a menace in the Takoradi area. Disguised as fishing boats, these massive wooden vessels, with a storage capacity of tens of thousands of liters and propelled by twin outboard motors, go to the high seas, mostly at night, where criminal tanker ships dock. Tons of fuel is pumped from the tanker into these wooden boats, which sails to different beaches and discharge their content into waiting road fuel tankers on the blind side of tax and other regulatory authorities. This fuel ends up on the market. At the meeting between the Ghana Maritime Authority, the Western Naval Command, and the head of the Marine Police, Mr. Donko Kwabena Jethro, the detachment commander, Naval Intelligence at the Western Naval Command, listed the hindrance in the fight against the illegal fuel trade as leaking of information by security personnel, inadequate funding for the recruitment of informants, and political interference, among others. But Director General of the Ghana Maritime Authority, Mr. Thomas Alonzi, said people with criminal motives and intentions are using the name of politicians to give oxygen to their illegal activities.
Interferences, how do you want to call them? Political interference. These are people who have an interest in the industry. We don't want to hide under some political collaborations, but we also know as a security person that crime has no color. Crime has no color, and therefore, once it's a crime, it ought to be isolated and contained, isolated and dealt with as a crime. The law that creates the authority mandates us to fight against these illegal activities. And therefore, we should not be afraid of what some other person thinks or says about our operations. The only time you get frightened or you should be afraid is if you are doing the wrong thing. And as much as you are doing what is right or what is required of you by law, I don't think you should be afraid of persons who have an interest in these illegal activities. So we rest assured that some of the information that we have also gathered here.
The head of the Ghana Maritime Authority at Takoradi, Captain Williams E. Thompson, explained that some of the ships engaged in criminal fuel trade are not only unseaworthy, but also sometimes carry unwholesome products into the country. Captain Thompson said the GMA, together with the Navy, the Takoradi Port, the Marine Police, and National Security, has instituted night patrols on Ghana's waters. This has led to some arrest of ships and wooden boats engaged in illegal bunkering.
The Maritime Authority, in collaboration with the Marine Police and then the Ghana Navy, we carry out all-night patrols of our anchorages every day. So on one of our patrols, we found the ship at our anchorage. And we know from history that these type of vessels come in here and do illegal bunkering. They come and hang out there. Wooden crafts called dendes go alongside, and then they put oil on, and then it comes ashore. So we went on board. You know, we could not just have arrested them. So we went on board and checked their documentation. Then we realized that first, their officers did not have proper certificates to be able to sail the vessel. Secondly, they did not have the adequate travel documents like passport and other things. So that gave us a cause to arrest the ship and bring it in. This was close to midnight. Essentially, they are bringing in smuggled finished products to come and sell on the market. Some of them are not of the quality that is approved by our regulators.
For Joy News, in Athalia Kwanza, Western Region.
Scientists at the University of Cape Coast are proposing a fruit-eating policy for the country to boost the immune system of Ghanaians. President Akufo-Addo, in his recent address to the nation, asked Ghanaians to eat more fruits and vegetables that will boost their immune system. A lecturer at the Department of Crop Science, Dr. Frank Kwekutre Aka, says the proposal for the introduction of a fruit day calendar that will promote the consumption of at least one fruit a day, not only to boost the immune system of Ghanaians in this COVID-19 era, but will also encourage farmers to grow more fruits. Richard Kwejonyako has more in the following report.
The crop scientists at the University of Cape Coast say, apart from people adhering to the appropriate preventive actions, particularly hand hygiene and appropriate social distancing, the appropriate defense mechanism to allow the body to stay strong is also very pertinent. Dr. Frank Kwekuche Aka, a crop scientist at the University of Cape Coast, says the policy, if adopted by government, will ensure that at least every Ghanaian consumes a fruit a day in a calendar that has been designed. For instance, the country could have a mango day, a pineapple day, an orange day, a watermelon day, each day of the week, going by the fruit calendar.
One thing that we have noted is that daily, every day, there's a kind of food that you need to take, or you need to make it a point that you take one fruit a day. And so if you come out with a calendar that you follow in terms of the fruits, then you know what to do. Even when the children wake up, they will tell you, Daddy, today is mango day, today is orange day. And so with the days, we have assigned a fruit to each day. And depending, you see, most of the foods that we produce are seasonal. And so what we want people to do is that you look at the environment in which you find yourself, or the community, and then the season in which you find yourself. There are available fruits. Then you can prepare your own calendar. So we have come up with a sample calendar where everybody can follow. And so we are urging the Ghana Health Service to also promote it. Encourage the people, the nursing mothers or the pregnant women, encourage them to produce their own calendar. So Sunday is rather avocado, Monday is mango, Tuesday is orange, watermelon, on Wednesday, pineapple, on Thursday, we have banana on Friday, and then papaya on Saturday. And so that is what a sample that we have developed.
Dr. Aka explains, apart from the fruit calendar helping boost the immune system, it will also encourage farmers to stay in business.
This country, we don't eat much of fruits. So that is why you go out there, you see a lot of people, especially the farmers, cutting down their food crops. So when you come to the central region, most farmers are now cutting down their citrus because they are not getting people to buy. And why are they not getting people to buy? Because we don't eat much. We are not eating fruit. And in as much as it gives us the benefit in terms of nutrient, it also encourages farmers to produce. Because if they are producing and they are getting people to buy, they will be encouraged to do more.
For Joy News, Richard Kwejonyako, Cape Coast.
Hello again and welcome back to Business. Businesses are biting their fingers in despair as the impact of the coronavirus reaped profits. This has led to unemployment cases, leaving the private sector virtually on its knees. The development has got the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry talking, as its president, Dr. Nana Appiagyei Danquah the first, has raised concerns over the 600 million stimulus package from government to SMEs. He was speaking at the Chamber's first ever virtual conference in Accra. Charles Haiti was there and has filed this report.
Close to 500 persons from the business community joined in this virtual conference organized by the Chamber of Commerce and Industry. With millions of cedis being lost to the impact of COVID-19, President of the Chamber, Dr. Nana Appiagyei Danquah I, lamented what he termed the woefully inadequate stimulus package for SMEs brought up by government.
The results show that, on average, the estimated financial cost of the pandemic on businesses differs and increases with firm sizes. Micro enterprise, that is around 22,500 Ghana cedis. Small enterprises, 50,000 Ghana cedis. medium enterprises 500,000 Ghana cedis, and large enterprise 600,000 Ghana cedis. It thus suggests that government stimulus package of 600 million to be shared among about 200,000 SMEs is woefully inadequate, average of 3,000 Ghana cedis, even for the micro enterprise, which is hovering around 22,500 Ghana cedis.
Economists world over are racing against time to prevent a possible recession. Here in Ghana, government is considering a recovery program to revive the economy. But economist Peter Quartey of the Institute of Statistical Service, ISA, warns that Ghana's economic bounce back will be based on a sustained support for SMEs.
It is prudent that government provides the stimulus package to steer the economy from severe recession. Yes, government has also responded with loans, reduction in electricity tariffs, and free water for 3 months. The effects of these interventions can be direct and indirect. Direct in the sense that if we get an NBSSI loan of 600 million, would be.
With thousands of jobs on the line, the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry wants a very rapid response from government in sustaining businesses in these times of COVID-19. I'm Charles Aite for Joy Business.
Government statistician Professor Kwabena Enim says the 2020 census will come on as expected. According to him, the Ghana Statistical Service is holding a virtual training for officers that will be engaged on the exercise.
Pursuing the needed preparatory activities to ensure that we do not lose out of the decennial conduct of the 2020 population housing census. We are of the view that with the 28th June 2020 that we set for the census, because of the current restrictions on a ban on public gatherings, including workshops and conferences, we will not be able to proceed as scheduled. But we've gone ahead to adapt virtual procedures by which we are currently training our master trainers, and plans are underway that we're going to cascade the training to the lower levels. So we're going to do virtual training for our regional trainers, our district trainers, and eventually the enumerators and the supervisors. So our preparatory activities are on course. We are currently done with the field work for delineating the country into about 52,000 enumeration areas. We are currently gathering geometry indices, accessibility indices, and building structure indices to help us have a good sense of the number of people that we need to put in each enumeration area. So in terms of preparatory activities, the only challenge that we are facing now is the effect that the face-to-face training would have brought to the fore. But having said that, we are hoping that once COVID-19 eases off by the 31st May, as the President has indicated, and even if there's a slight extension to it, it wouldn't alter the decision to have the census in the year 2020. So we send this message across to Ghanaians to hold themselves in preparedness, give us the necessary cooperations while we deploy different strategies to ensure that Ghana would not miss out of the decennial conduct of a population and housing census. The other issue that we want to bring to Ghanaians is the fact that it's come to the notice of Ghana Statistical Service that some fraudsters are demanding monies from unsuspecting applicants who would want to work with Ghana Statistical Service in different capacities to ensure that we cover the whole country and cover it well in terms of quality data. And some information is on the social media that we have engaged some individuals using mobile money accounts to collect money from prospective, unsuspecting applicants, indicating that they can offer them a job on the census or give them a place of their choice. We want to put on record that Ghana Statistical Service, first of all, has not engaged any individual or agency to collect money from any person in the hope that that person would get a job or that person would place in a district of his or her choice.
Commerce giant Jumia has seen some hike in certain category of products such as PPEs and groceries amidst the pandemic. This is according to the Chief Executive Officer of Jumia, and she's been speaking to Alberta Bissiu.
During this COVID-19 pandemic, it has become very necessary to limit public gathering. And I'm here at the Jumia office to find out if people are making good use of the online platform. Let's go and speak to the Chief Executive Officer, Linda Owusu-Cherko, how people are taking advantage of the online platform.
According to Bloomberg, e-commerce companies have emerged as favorites during the coronavirus pandemic. Demands for some category of products have received high patronage online in recent times. According to the Chief Executive Officer of Jumia Ghana, Dinah Owusu-Cherko, on the scale of 1 to 10, purchase of products such as groceries and personal protective equipment have received major patronage.
We've seen interest peaks on certain categories, so hygiene, disinfectants. We've also seen an increase in things like masks and gloves and sanitizers, right? So those categories, we can sure say that there's a peaked interest in those. I would say on those particular categories that I mentioned, I would say the interest is quite high, right? So I would give it sort of like a 9 or 10 in terms of their buying habits.
She added, although the outbreak of this pandemic has affected imports of goods generally, but the level of delay is declining. She said customers have come to understand the situation and are coping with the current situation.
Of course, we've got a combination of international sellers and local sellers, and we're trying as best as possible to work with all of them to make sure, one, we support them, and two, we keep our own businesses going during this time. So I would say that the goods that we have coming from international, coming from abroad, all the delays have actually regulated, so we're now in good timeline. The sellers essentially list on Jumia what they have at the moment in their warehouses or in their offices. But I would say that all delays have started stabilizing.
I have been speaking to the Chief Executive Officer of Jumia Ghana, Linda Owusu-Cherko, and she tells me that there have been pickups in some categories of products that they have online. She talks about PPE, she talks about groceries, and she says that they are still going to continue to ensure that safety is being provided at the doorsteps of their customers. Alberta Bithu reported for Joy Business.
Let's hit the commodity markets now, where crude oil sold today for $29.33 a barrel after going down by minus 0.65%. Details in the commodity news. And that will be all for business tonight. My name is Sandra Esinama. Do log on to myjoyline.com/business for more business news updates. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for staying with us on Joy News Prime. This is the second hour of the sport. I'm Gary Al Smith. And over the period, I've been updating you on what African football countries have been doing where COVID-19 is concerned. Today we'll be looking at the relief measures, that is to say, how they are looking to support their leagues financially. So, with that in mind, let's begin with the money that Mauritania are giving to their leagues. Now, there's a total package of $320,000 that is being given to 14 Mauritanian Premier League teams. Now, each team will get $7,043, and each coach gets $282. With each team having 30 players, that computes to $141 per player. That's for Mauritania. And then in the Gambia, there's a package that's being given from the FA, $160,000 for 47 teams, and that computes to $2,910 per club. Each club will be getting this amount. And then in Cameroon, there's a total package of $88,000 and there's it's going to be broken down for 44 teams, but the breakdown has not been decided as of now. So what would Ghana be doing? We'll look at that after we see Liberia. The total package that's been given in Liberia is $147,000. Now, they have 12 first division teams who will each get $4,200, 14 second division teams who will each get $4,200, and then 9 women's league teams who will each get $4,200 also. For Ghana, the money is not in yet. And to Krakow today said, we are also waiting for FIFA to fast-track the process and get us an emergency COVID-19 fund. We are actually expecting 2 funds from FIFA, the FIFA Forward and the FIFA COVID-19 fund. And he says both are not yet in. When the money comes, we'll see how it will be dispersed. Moving on, C.K. Akono, the coach of the Black Stars, is still in the news after an exclusive interview with him. This time, we are telling you how he named his best ever senior national team.
This will be in goal.
So Richard Kingston.
Richard Kingston, then Bayewa, you know Bayewa?
Yeah, Frank Amankwa.
It will be
so Frank Amankwa on the right.
On the right, then Zekasari. Okay. The old players must excuse me. I'm doing this from the 90s.
Exactly.
You know, because I didn't say...
No, we can't do it for every generation. Yeah. As in, if I were to even give my best 11, I'm not sure it will be from 1956 up till now.
And seriously, I didn't see majority of them
exactly.
Too. You know, so they should excuse me, pardon me. And so Azekasari as left back.
Yeah, left back.
Then Kufuor. Osei is and then Fripo Manso.
Okay. We'll partner
who always gave me knock in the national team. And then of course Steven Appiah and Bessian. You can't do with that. You know, they were the people who from the next generation they took over and they made Ghana proud. Also they performed very, very well.
We talked about Maestro Abi.
Yeah. Maestro, Mohamed Polo.
Yeah.
Asamoah Gyan and Anthony Yeboah.
So Maestro will be your captain?
Of course. Hey. What kind of question is that? What kind of question? As for me, I'll be the number 12.
You'll be the number 12.
I always say that. And you don't try to change me. When you bring me in, I'll score. So I'm a guarantee.
So you're part of the subs.
I'm in fact, the first up.
Wow.
So that's his best ever senior national team 11. What about Lai Kingston, who was in our studios on Saturday? What's his? Here it is.
My time will be my brother, Richard Kingston.
In post?
In post, yeah. And John Pencil, Ansedu Sape, John Mensah, Ricardo. Then when you come to the midfield, we have Michael Essien, Stephen Appiah. Ghana, we play 4-4-2. Michael Essien, Stephen Appiah. Me on the right, Sule Mutari on the left. Then we have Matthew Amoah and Asamoah Gyan.
Great.
Yeah. It's going to be very tough.
Okay.
Of course, he named himself into the best 11. What did you expect him to do? Anyway, moving on to COVID-19 and its impact as well. Now and again, we like to remind you of which leagues have decided to start today. Italy have given a date for their intended return of the Serie A, which means that the major leagues look like this. This weekend, the Bundesliga is starting. Serie A is starting on the 13th of June, tentatively. The Premier League have been given the all clear to start in June, but no date has been set. La Liga has been suspended indefinitely. The MLS is on June the 8th. League One has been cancelled, and the Eredivisie in the Netherlands has also been cancelled. Another wrap, another day of the sport. I'm Gary Al Smith. Why don't we do this tomorrow? Please stay safe.
All right, so you're welcome back, and it's time for Joy News Interactive, and we're going to share with you the story which was our top story. It has to do with the directives issued by the Ghana Tourism Authority, which was then we had counter directives issued from the ministry, which is the supervising ministry. So the supervising ministry says the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture is taking note of the circular issued by the Ghana Tourism Authority in caption as above. The ministry wishes to clarify the directives as follows. Food chains and restaurants can operate take-out and delivery services only. Drinking bars remain closed. and all nightclubs remain closed. And we've had a number of reactions coming in, 94 comments and 39 shares. Let's go through some of them. Philemon says, clueless 19, damage control. And then Frank says, swift leadership exhibited. It would have been chaotic for the drinking bars to be open while church is closed. Hayford Eduzi says, is NDC really an opposition party, or I don't understand the meaning of opposition party? The political science students, I need explanation. And then Fred Okman says, why won't a section of the public think the whole COVID-19 thing in the country isn't real? You write and you come with another which supersedes the previous, while the previous just didn't make sense. We're not serious as a country. And Charles Cote says, the drinking bars that are operating in my area, no, what about those ones? They've been operating before this directive came. All right, so it means those have to report it. I guess, Charles, call the police. Call the police emergency line and let them deal with that for you. Aisha, any more comments from you?
Of course, a lot more comments there. But the interesting thing is that people are not happy about the fact that the authority would have to release such a statement that seemed to ignore the EI, the executive instrument, and also that means that they're disrespecting the president's directive. And only for the tourism ministry to come and release such a statement, it looks like it was an afterthought or a knee-jerk reaction. But be it as it may, it's been clarified that the drinking sports are not part. Even the restaurants are going to be doing delivery services. Nightclubs are just not part of it. They don't even come in at all. Daniel Bachi says the target was Christians. Gucci Denny says confusion, no a basa. And Richard Eni said data directives. And Tim says like they will smell pepper, of course. And Adewale Iyabo says we are tired in post. Stone Charles says what a confusion. And Joseph Hill says also comes in to take confusion. Albert Kofi Adams also says confusion, no aye basa. Those are some of your comments there on Facebook.
All right, and that will be it for the bulletin. I'm Israelai, anchoring from home as always. And Aisha, over to you. Thank you very much, you all, for watching.
My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for watching, and it's been great doing this with you, Israel Lai. Evans Mensah comes up shortly with PM Express. You know what's been happening in court? Martin Amidu now, the court says is eligible to be a special prosecutor. You know how this whole thing has been. Catch it up on PM Express. It's coming right after this. Stay tuned.